Congressman from Georgia and Trump senior advisor. And now here joining me in Chicago is Sevugan, the former senior spokesman for Barack Obama's campaigns past, back in 2008 and did some work at the DNC in 2012, if I remember correctly. Yep. Hari, I'm going to start with you since you're sitting here with me.
Sure.
So Kellyanne Conway on Meet the Press Daily also said something about this argument that Trump has been making about it being a rigged election. Yep. She said that absent evidence of wrongdoing, of irregularities and voter fraud, of course we'll accept the outcome. Yeah. If that's her posture, that's, I think, the posture of almost every campaign. If there's no evidence of wrongdoing or voter fraud, we accept the outcome. If that's what she's saying is their stance, why is Donald Trump saying the opposite, saying, of course, there's already voter fraud happening right now, and it happens all the time. You're naive to believe otherwise.
Well, the posture of every campaign is what the candidate says, and the candidate says that there's going to be a rigged election. And what I think is important here is that Donald Trump has shown over the last couple weeks that he's not really interested in winning this election. This talk about rigging an election is not about actually winning. It's about setting him up for what he wants to do afterwards, which is keep this constituency that he's built for some other business venture, and I think it's going to be Trump TV. But everything he's done, whether it is, this talk about rigging an election actually depresses his own vote. That's what I don't understand. Like, if you look at the Washington Post poll, his voter enthusiasm numbers went from 91% to the mid-70s in the last couple of weeks when he's really been talking about rigging elections. Right. So he's not interested in winning. This is for something else.
Right. Congressman Kingston, I want to ask you about this. There are two things. One is the fact Donald Trump's been making this argument with increasing vociferousness. He's saying that you're naive if you don't think that voter fraud is widespread. As you, I'm sure, know, there's almost no evidence of any voter fraud that's ever happened in recorded American history, at least in recent vintage. It's also the case that we now have stories coming out in which Trump supporters are saying if Hillary Clinton gets elected, it's obviously going to be a rigged outcome, and that they're talking about things like assassination and coups. There was a story in the Boston Globe about that this weekend. So tell me how you think it's possibly justifiable or healthy for our country for Donald Trump to be saying the things he's saying about a rigged election.
Well, let me say this. I've been on the ballot 15 different times over a 30-year period of time. I always had campaign poll watchers. It's just a matter of trust but verify. So I believe if you're a Democrat or a Republican, sometimes there's irregularities that have nothing to do with party or motive. It's just plain incompetency. So I think it's very important, particularly in tough areas, for each candidate to have poll watchers. And I think that that's a good direction to go in. I don't know of anybody of any credibility who says that they think they should assassinate Hillary Clinton if she wins, John. I mean, there's always outliers who say all kinds of wacky things, but there's no one that's affiliated with our campaign.
Congressman, excuse me, that's not, but Mr. Trump's not, he's going well beyond saying there should be poll watchers, although even that's dubious in my mind. He's saying this is going to be a rigged election, widespread voter fraud is taking place. He tweeted that just today, and I know that they're not campaign officials who are saying this. I'm saying he's creating a climate among a lot of his supporters that's dangerous. What do you say to that?
I think that's ridiculous, John. We hear this from the left. No matter what he says, well, that's dangerous. Whose campaign office has been firebombed? It's the Trump office. And I would not say that was under any mandate of Hillary Clinton, but was there something in her rhetoric? No, you never hear the press say that. It just, if they burned down the North Carolina campaign office, nobody ever would link that to anything Hillary or any of her subordinates have said. But whatever happens on the Trump campaign, it's always directly related to his last speech. And I'll say this, in my understanding of his definition of rigged is the fact that there is an overwhelming bias against him, whether it's coming out of Hollywood, whether it's coming out of the establishment, whether it comes out of Wall Street, whether it comes out of the media. There does seem to be a fix against Donald Trump. And, just this morning I was looking, and I know the numbers have actually changed since then, but 37 daily papers have given endorsement. 23 of those have gone to Hillary Clinton, 6 have gone to Johnson, and 0, as of 2 days ago, went to Trump. I think he picked up 1 this morning. So, when you think about those numbers, it's hard to believe, well, there's no bias whatsoever. Go ahead, John. I'm sorry. I don't mean to ramble.
Sorry, I'll just point out that many of those newspapers that you're talking about that have endorsed Hillary Clinton or not endorsed Donald Trump have been newspapers that have never not endorsed a Republican for decades, so they're not exactly liberal newspapers that have gone in that direction.
I'm not saying they're liberal. He's saying that the system is stacked against him, and I think that does prove it. I never mentioned conservative or liberal on that. I'm just saying that
Hari, let
there's
me ask you this
possible
question right
bias
now.
if you look at that number.
Well, Congressman, again, that's a weird definition of bias when a conservative newspaper ruled that have always endorsed Republicans go against Donald Trump.
Well,
that's not
let me give you the definition,
John.
It is bias if you're for the other team.
Congressman, I got to go to my other guest here. I got to go to my other guest. I can't just talk to you the entire time. Hari, let me ask you this question. You look at the polls that are out right now.
Yep.
Why is this race? I mean, she is clearly the leader. She's winning nationally by somewhere between 4 and 11 points if you take the national polls. She's got leads. Some of them are narrow in most of the battleground states. Given everything that's happened to Donald Trump in the last 2 weeks, why is this race still as close as it is? There is still a path for Trump to win. I think you'd agree.
Well, listen, I think he's got a floor and I think he's got a ceiling, and he's going to fluctuate in between those two things. This is not going to be an 80-20 election ever. You know, he's going to be somewhere between 30 and 40, 45%.
Right.
That's where he's going to be. There's definitely movement towards Hillary, but the point is the math is still the math. The path for him to get to 270 is virtually impossible. If she wins every single state and the District of Columbia, there are 19 of them that Democrats have won in the last 6 elections. Right. She starts at 242, right? And now we're putting into play Georgia, Utah, Arizona, Texas. Right. They're going on TV. The Hillary Clinton campaign is going on TV in Texas.
Let me ask you about, so they are doing that. Let me ask you this question. Barack Obama's campaign in 2012 thought about putting Arizona in play. You guys, the campaign decided not to do that because they didn't need it. That was their judgment. Don't waste resources. We don't need this. We can get to 270 without it. The Clinton campaign is now facing that same choice. Do you think it's smart for them to expend resources on reach states rather than just devoting resources to the states they absolutely need to win?
Look, I think they're going to have the resources they need to get to 270. There's definitely going to be that. There are going to be expansion states where they're going to try to get votes, and it's not only just getting votes for them, they're helping their down ballot ticket mates as well in those states, and that's going to help Hillary Clinton govern if she's going to pick up Senate seats, she's going to pick up House seats, but it's also forcing Republicans to play defense there. The bottom line is Donald Trump needs to be expanding the map right now. His map is shrinking.
All right. Hari Sevugan, Jack Kingston, thank you both for being on the show, especially Jack Kingston for doing double duty against both Mark and me. Coming up, we have Captain Mark Kelly on the show right after this quick break.